present?
Okay, we're going live.
Just tell me when it's live.
It's live now.
Okay, Abby, we're live.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. Number one on the agenda is public comments. Are there any public comments? No? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to number 2 on the agenda. Consider and take action to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 16th, 2020.
Okay, we'll go into the minutes right now so you can look at them.
Okay.
Okay, scroll down some more. Go ahead.
Okay, I move that we approve the minutes from the prior meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Number 3 on the agenda, introduction of the new Harlingen Fire Chief.
And he will be joining us soon. I don't think he's yet on the Zoom call, so if we could possibly move this item to further down the line, I would appreciate that.
No problem. We'll go ahead and go number 4, which is consider and take action to approve the eligibility list resulting from the fire captain promotional examination administered on October 20th, 2020.
Okay, on that exam, we had 12 people test. We had 10 pass the exam. I don't know if you need to look at the list, but we can certainly bring up the list if you want to see it.
There it is.
There it is. So with that, we ask that you approve this list.
I move to approve the lists.
From the
Fire captain promotional examination administrator.
Okay, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 5, consider and take action to approve the eligibility list resulting from the fire lieutenant promotional examination administered on October 2020.
Okay, on that list, we had 6 people test, and we had 3 pass. And there's the list of the 3 that passed. And we ask that you approve this list.
Okay. I move we approve the fire lieutenant examination list administered on October 21st.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, if we could go back to item 3, the new fire chief is online. He started effective last week. His name is Ralph Valderas. He was previously the chief up until May, I think, of this year when he retired as chief from the McAllen Fire Department. And he's now our chief here in Harlingen. So Chief Valderas, anything you'd like to say to the Civil Service Commission?
Yes, pleasure to meet you. I'm excited and happy to be here. I've met nothing but excellent personnel here. The city of Harlingen is blessed to have a great fire department here, and I'm blessed to be part of that team now.
Well, welcome.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you.
Same here. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Number 6 on the agenda is to consider an appeal by firefighter Steve Milan. How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Milan, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Milan, of the fire driver promotional examination administered on October 22nd, 2020, question number 70.
Yes, and on it, I'll share that my screen on this one. Okay, this is the appeal he wrote to us. I'd like to get this thing to work right. I'm kind of new at this thing, so. And he was questioning question number 70 on this exam. We did write to the test provider, and the test provider responded that with this response right here.
Okay, I don't see anything
Oh,
except for the agenda.
okay. Let me make sure that it should be sharing. Maybe you need to get out of the sharing, Sandra.
Yeah, typically the person who was sharing needs to stop sharing.
Okay.
So Sandra needs to stop sharing and then you can share it. There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Is it there yet?
Okay.
What I'm sharing right now is his letter to you. I don't know if you see it yet.
Yeah, we can see the top half of it.
Yeah, okay. Let me scroll down a little bit. You should be able to see all of his letter, which was question number 70. He had several choices. He chose one because he thought that was the best answer. And he can explain himself, but I'll drop down to what the test provider answered. And that's what he answered. And then I also have a copy of the question and a copy of the actual book where the answer was pulled from. So as soon as you're through that, let me know and I can pull down to the actual source material.
Okay.
Oops, went too far.
Actually, can you scroll up just a smidge?
Okay.
Okay. So the little, just like 2 sentences or 1 sentence probably higher. Yeah, that's good. Perfect. Okay.
Okay, and let me pull down to the actual. I want to pull down to how the actual question is on the book, or the section that it covers in the book. Oops, I'm sorry about this thing. I'll eventually get it right.
I didn't know I was going to need a Dramamine for this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a pilot. He's not a very good pilot. Okay, here's the first bullet down here. This is where the first part of the answer is. And that's where the most common source of problems while operating the draft, and it identifies that one. However, on the next page, and if you let me just scroll down a tiny bit, it mentions the other 2 items. So that's where the controversy lies, whether it's that first one or Mr. Milan had actually answered one of the other ones, and if you allow him to, he can probably explain better what I'm talking about.
Can I speak, Mr. Fernandez?
It'd be up to the chairperson.
Go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm just challenging the question because while sorry, I'm a little nervous. While all 3 do affect drafting while drafting, I believe the question should be thrown out or reworded for a test down the road as to if you go back, if Mr. Fernandez can go back to the actual question, it states problems. So to me that means plural, and then number 70, yeah, the most common source of problems while operating during drafting operations is which of the following? Well, 3 of those are correct. You know, the question should read maybe which is the most, which is not a common source of problem. 3 of those answers are correct.
I apologize for my ignorance, but is drafting when you're drawing water from another source? Or
Yes, sir. It's when you're drafting water from a static source.
Okay, and then
like a pond or a canal or a pool or a tank.
Okay, so you're drawing water from a static source, and then problems can occur such as I guess not getting enough water pressure, or I guess there are other problems that can happen.
Yes, so your major problem is priming and air leakage and having air inside the pump itself and not being able to get a prime. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like using a squirt gun and you're pumping a squirt gun and you got air in there and you just can't get it.
Yeah,
that's basically what drafting is.
So, because the way I'm looking at the source material, it seems like there are multiple problems you can get from each one of those sources.
Correct.
So if you have if you have a whirlpool, and I'm completely ignorant as to how using a beach ball would work, but it gives you that example. It says, hey, put a beach ball above some other device and the strainer. Yeah, so put a beach ball above the strainer. But anyway, so it looks like you could have multiple problems from the whirlpool. You could have multiple problems from the air leakage. You could have multiple problems from the air leakage due to the pump packing, multiple problems due to the air leak on the intake side. So I think, and I could be wrong, but it seems like you can have multiple problems from each one of those sources of problems, either the air leak on the intake side of the pump, or the whirlpool, or the air leak due to defective pump packing. And so I think that's why it says multiple problems, but I don't know that the response from the maker didn't seem like it addressed your specific question, which is, hey, why is it multiple? Why does it use the plural? It doesn't really say that, precisely. I mean, to me, that's the only explanation, is that the plural of the word problems relates to the fact that there are multiple problems you can get from each one of those three sources of problems, and the most common source of problems that you could get from, and I'm just going to make up a number, but let's say that there are 10 types of problems you can get, or 10 problems you can get related to drafting from a static source, and maybe the air leak, has 3 of them or 4 of them, or only has 1, but it's the most common of all of the 10 problems, or something like that. That's the way I interpreted it. Does that make sense, or is that way out there in left field?
No, sir. I see where you're coming from. I guess, I just think the question should be reworded as to, which one is not a problem, or not a most common problem, instead of giving you all 3 of these that are, effective problems that do happen during the time of drafting. When you draft, you're gonna deal with probably all 3 of these situations.
Yeah, that's a good.
Unless you have a brand new truck.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, yeah, that's a strong point. That, hey, what a firefighter needs to know that you have. And this is what you're saying. I'm just repeating back what you're saying. You're saying, hey, a firefighter needs to know that all 3 of these are big problems that you need to address, or be prepared to address. I would guess the maker of the. I'm familiar with government tests, and so I think that the maker, or the maker of the source material for the testing material, they have that buzzword, the buzz phrase. The buzz phrase is the most common source of problems. And they use that buzz phrase, most common source of problems, so that when you're, for me, me being a government test taker, the way I would have looked at it is, oh yeah, their buzz phrase even if I know nothing about firefighting, which is, I think your point is like, hey, look, as a firefighter, if you're good at test taking, like me, I'm good at test taking, so I would have answered that way. But you're saying, hey, this isn't about test taking. This is about like, hey, being a good firefighter is all three of those things are issues, and testing for the buzz phrase of most common source of problems is not the appropriate test question. The appropriate test question is, hey, these, all three of these are issues and that you need to address and you need to be prepared to address. Or is that fair? Because to me,
yes, sir. I completely agree with you. And to answer your question too, I mean, I chose whirlpooling because that's probably the most common thing I see.
Yeah, this really looks like a mass memorization regurgitation kind of source material,
right.
Meaning that had you nothing more than memorized and not thought through it, you would have gotten the right answer. The question is that the kind of test that you should be given? Meaning that, like what he said, is that, okay, that buzzword would have driven him to the correct answer.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily make him the best firefighter. And
right.
so I see where it would have been obvious if you were the kind of test taker that we are. We've been trained to take tests, but you've been trained as a firefighter. And so as a firefighter, I see the problem with the question.
Yes.
I don't know, Rich, what do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, and I just want to make sure that we're not just making stuff up. So, but you're saying, in your professional opinion as a firefighter, that you in your experience, in your training and experience, you've come across the whirlpool allowing the air to enter the pump as a more common than the air leak on the intake side of the pump. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, whirlpooling effect and probably air leakage due to pump packing would be number 2 for me.
Okay. Yeah,
that I've had most experience with.
Yeah, so that's the exact problem that you're exposing with this question. And how many years have you been firefighting? How many years have you been in the profession?
I just completed 12 years, sir.
Okay, so in your 12 years of experience, that's I mean, that's a valuable point. So other people in your position, if they're drawing from their experience, they're going to have that similar problem. Whereas, yeah, like a guy like me, with zero experience, I would have got that one question right. Clearly I would have got that one question right. Even though I don't even know what any of those words mean other than you just explaining it. Drafting is drawing water from a static source. Until you explained it, I had no idea. So it is ironic that I would have that question.
I'm mass memorization and regurgitation pro, but that doesn't make me, and that's what that's calling for. It's asking you to study the material and remember the minutia, with the buzzwords. But I could see why, if you really took the big picture and understood the concepts, why that would be problematic with the plural.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know, Rich. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean if that's the case, then that sounds like what you're saying is if you drop that question or you put it more practically, what is not a problem. So I see what you're saying now. You're saying, hey, look, if you want it to reflect reality and not just memorization for a test. But how many people got that question wrong?
Let me answer the question differently. If we were to drop the question, he scored a 69, so dropping it would not get him to pass. You would have to count it right like that. That would raise him to a 70. As far as the exam itself, we only had one other individual pass. This is normally the hardest exam there is within the fire promotional exams because it deals with a lot of technical type stuff. We did have a total of 8 people that took the exam. 1 passed it, and Mr. Milan came close with that 69, with that question being up in the air. I don't have the specifics on that one as to how many actually got it right or wrong, but
But only one other person took the test.
only one other person passed the exam.
Or only one other passed it. Okay, got it. How many people took
We
it?
had
Do you remember?
eight take it, but only 1 passed it.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
if we
And
drop the question altogether, it wouldn't change anything.
it won't change the other one, but he'll stay not passing it. You would have to count it right for him to actually be considered a passing score.
And would that affect anybody else? Or they're
No.
too?
It won't affect anybody else. This one only affects him. The one that scored below him was he'll need 2 points, and he didn't request any reconsideration of any question.
Well, since we have the fire chief on, do you have an opinion on this? Did I get?
I would have to say that that the firefighter has a right to appeal before the Civil Service Commission, and that's his fight. You know, as far as the department, we'll go with the certified list that you give us. I don't think it's my place to counter his fight. That's between him and the Civil Service Commission.
Yeah, I guess I was asking because we don't know the substance, but my read of it is good on you that you understand plural versus singular, and I could understand why it was a problem. Even though when you look at the source material, it's obvious that that's what they meant if you've memorized the source material, but I don't know that that's what you want in a firefighter.
Right.
So let me just jump in real quickly because we are bound by the promotional test taking system of 143. And if we wanted to consider other factors other than whether they're a good test taker, then the collective bargaining negotiations would be where we would maybe enter subjective criteria. So like for the police department, they have the promotional exam, and then they have a subjective portion where the chief will then make the determination to promote. So just to kind of warn y'all that we are in a test taking system solely, and entering subjectively, I don't want us to be in violation of 143 is all I'm trying to say.
I don't think it's so much subjective, because there is a question when you read it about the plurality. It does lend to that unless you've literally memorized the buzzwords directly from the source material on that one sentence. And I'm not sure that taken in entirety, like if you take it away from that, his reading of the question is not wrong. It's only if you line it up right next to that one sentence in the source material. And I'm not sure that would be right either.
That's fine. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in there about what we are statutorily.
I don't think we're changing I don't think it's a subjective thing. It's if you read the question independent of that one sentence it does lend itself to confusion because of the plural. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you thinking, Rich?
I don't know. That's a tricky one. Yeah, I mean, it was because the problem is, the source material is very, clear as far as what the right answer is.
Right. The source material does target that one thing.
Yeah. And it sounds like what so what Mr. Milan is saying is that, I mean, effectively he's saying, hey, the source material is wrong, right? I mean, he's saying, hey, that's not the most common source of problems. He's saying that the whirlpool is actually the most common source, and or in his experience, which obviously he's the only expert that's willing to talk about it right now. So that is I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one. Should we?
Poorly written. I think it's poorly written.
Yeah.
I think it's poorly written in the source material and poorly written. It's poorly written, but you're right. It does identify that one thing.
Yeah.
Now I'm back to.
Yeah, because and then the other problem is, as Ephraim pointed out, is that, I mean, to me the most obvious answer would just be to drop that question, but that has no effect, it sounds like. I mean,
right, and that would be my thing too. I think it's fair to drop it, but is it fair to give it credit? Because now we are giving a subjective, because he's saying the most common one is something else, and we don't know. That's a subjective thing.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, in order to give credit to his answer, it seems like we'd have to have another expert speak on it. I mean, at this point right now, there's only been one I hate to say it like that, but there's only been one expert speaking on it. The source material is the other expert, I guess, but we don't have somebody explaining it, defending that one so well, because the person who made the source material just kind of repeated it. So I think, to me, the only way you give credit to his answer is having another witness, unbiased, say, hey, the whirlpool is also in my experience, the most common source of problems.
I think it's poorly written, and so the question should be just dropped. But I don't think I can take the next step.
Yeah, same. Not at this point. Yeah, I'd say if you had in my opinion, if there was a second witness establishing the same thing, because to me it's between him and the source material, and but yeah, I'm comfortable with dropping the question, because he does expose a flaw there, but then the outcome doesn't matter. I mean, the outcome is not affected anyway.
Look at the issue at hand and not
the outcome. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, no,
I'd like to do the other way. I don't think we have the authority to do that.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you.
So, do we need a motion? Do we need what do we need, Rebecca?
You could do a motion to drop that question.
Okay.
Basically, to drop that question from the test itself, and so it just won't be graded one way or the other, right, Efren? It just won't be. It'll be dropped from the.
That is correct.
Score. That would be fine.
You want to make that motion, Rich?
Sure. I move to drop that question number 70 from Mr. Milan's test.
Well, from the test itself.
From the test but actually, I'm sorry. Let me one more question. Let me withdraw that motion. I'm withdrawing that motion. I have one more question. Are we talking about dropping it from that date on whatever it was, or are we saying drop it from that date and all future tests?
We provide different tests every time, so that will not be a question on the next exam. It's a different test every time.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Okay, yeah, so I move to drop question number 70 from the exam.
And I second that. In favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I think that concludes that number on the agenda.
Right.
Actually, I have a point of order on that question also. So, if Mr. Milan had another, if the test maker or another witness had explained the same thing or what have you, it could have affected some of our opinions. Is Mr. Milan able to renew that appeal, or how does it work from here? Is this his final attempt?
As far as I know, and the attorney can probably tell you more, this would be the final, your action is final.
Yeah, in this case, your action is final. He can retest the next time this comes up. And everyone, nobody else, only one person passed?
Right, so we will be retesting, probably at the next meeting, we'll be setting a test date to retest for this position, since we do have.
You have one person who passed.
We have several vacancies.
Okay.
Oh, well, thanks.
So
Thanks.
he'll retest, and if he's got another issue with any other questions in the next test, then he can appeal those questions as well.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what okay. Thank you so much. That answers very fully what I was asking.
Sorry, we couldn't fix the situation completely for you, but I mean, I do see what the dilemma was. And all we could do is drop the question as far as I could see.
Thank you, ma'am. I just wasn't aware I was able to bring another witness in.
I don't know if that would have made the difference, because then we're going to be arguing about the validity of the, I mean, I still probably would have concluded drop the question, most likely. So.
Next.
Go on to the next number on the agenda, or is there any other comment?
Item number 7, I guess.
Item number 7 is consider and take action to approve the eligibility list resulting from the fire driver promotional examination subject to possible recalculation.
And that's where we do have the list with a one person passing. As of right now, it's 81 score. It'll probably most likely change to 1 point lower or higher. But we asked that you certify the list with him showing as the passing individual, which is Andrew Mann, who scored an 81 with the 2 points seniority, which he had total.
Okay, I move that we approve the eligibility list resulting from the fire driver promotional examination.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 8, consider and take action to approve the eligibility lists resulting from the entry-level police officer examination administered on November 19th, 2020.
Actually, I'm sorry. I'm a little slow today. In order to be on that list, and you have to have a 70%. Is that right?
Right. And then from there, you add the seniority points. In other words,
Okay.
you
have to have the 70 before. You have to have the 70 before the seniority point?
Right.
And do you round up, or like if you have a 69.7, does that become a 70?
A 16, typically, yes.
Because I think that's what Mr. Milan ends up with. I think Mr. Milan ends up with a 69.7, because if you drop, I assume it's 100 right. Question.
99.
Yeah, so now he gets a 69 out of 99, which doesn't that round up to a 70?
I'd have to do the math, but if your math is correct, it would round up to a 70.
But can we? I mean, not a mathematician, but can we agree to do that now? To let's pull out a calculator, and if his rounds up to a 70, then he should be on. In my opinion, he should be on this promotional list that we need to reopen that motion and put him on that list, I think.
And I would agree with that completely. So.
I mean, I can tell you, I'm on my calculator, which I assume is going to give the same answer as everybody else's. I get I do 69 divided by 99, and I get 0.696969 repeating, which I assume means it needs to be it would be a 70. It would be 69.69, which rounds up to 69.70, which rounds up to 70.
So your math is probably better than mine. So if it does come out to rounding to a 70, we will add them to the list.
All right. Do we have to do that next time, or
we do that right now? Is that
okay?
Yeah, because the agenda item says subject to possible recalculation. So you guys can do that right now.
Well, I would like to amend that motion then to add any recalculation that includes Mr. Milan.
Okay, that'll work. That'll give us 2 passing scores. And I'll do it on paper and add it as part of the minutes to the meeting to show the actual calculation.
You want me to remove Abby?
Yeah, go ahead. Remove.
So I move to approve the promotional list as amended with Mr. Milan's newest score of 70%.
Okay. And I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. He seems to be off the line now, but I guess somebody will notify him.
We will. The chief's on the line, so he'll let him know.
He's still on the line?
No, well, the chief's on, so
Oh,
the chief will.
okay, that's fine. All right, so now move on to number 8, which is consider and take action to approve the eligibility list resulting from the entry-level police officer examination administered on November 19th, 2020.
Okay, on that exam, we had 83 people take the exam. We had 68 pass the exam. Of those, we had 15 that were certified, and we had 53 that are not certified. So we ask that you approve the list.
I move we approve the eligibility list from the police officer exam on November 19th, 2020.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 9, I move that we adjourn.
Thank you for your help and patience.
Oh no, it was fun. It was a very interesting exercise. I hope we didn't annoy the city attorney or anybody else with an
Not at all.
It truly felt like the right outcome. I just didn't know how to get there. So I appreciate you doing the math.
Okay. Thank you so much for your assistance. Appreciate it. I'm sorry.
Thank you all.
Adjourn. Do you want a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank
care.
you, everybody. It's good to
Goodbye.
see you all.
Take care.